Bonjour! Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Fasten up your seatbelt and enjoy this journey into Muse World with Lamia Norbert. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a new episode of Muse World. So, today's episode, I have no guests. It is a solo episode. But before we delve into what's today's episode going to be all about, I do want to say a big thank you for all the support that I've seen in the recent episode. I've also seen that a lot of you have actually enjoyed the topic around the Gen Z and also the dating. So if it is something that you would like me to talk a little bit more, let me know, because I think it will be a great way to keep going if you did enjoy listening to that. I actually had so much fun recording these episodes. So yeah, if it is something that you want to see more, please let me know. So let's talk about today's episode. So the reason why I wanted to do a solo episode was because I was actually reflecting of the beginning of the year, so how 2025 started. And I did do that. I think I did this, it was in February when I released one solo talking a bit about how it was going. But I still think it was relatively new, like beginning of 2025, and I couldn't really speak in details about everything. Today we're like towards the end of April. It blows my mind how time flies, but I wrote some points down and obviously I wanted to share them with you. I've always been very transparent around my podcast and really authentic with you all. So that's what we're gonna do today. So how I did it is basically I kind of wrote down like how my life has been since beginning of the year in terms of, like, for example, career, physique, emotional, hobbies, a bit of everything. Because if you heard my podcast about my New Year's resolution, I've noticed that there were certain things that did obviously change or didn't go as per plan, but that doesn't mean it was a bad thing. So let's start. I think I'm going to start first with physical, so which means physical health and wellness, because obviously right now this is something that is taking a big chunk of my life. So when I mentioned about the beginning of the year, I did mention that I would start the year with my coach, Ross, and that will be basically working into getting myself healthy, working on nutrition, working on obviously building muscle, being in a place where I would finally be happy with my body. And it's been a journey that I did not expect at all. In a good way. It did challenge me a lot. I thought it was going to be just an easy thing. I thought, I'm used to this, but it was not. There was a lot of mental struggle, put it like that. So I was someone who has been under eating for a very long time. I was eating anywhere between 1,500 to 1,600 calories, and it came to a point where I could not see any change in my body. Hence why I reached out to Ross, and part of it was increasing calories. It was decreasing the number of weight session I would usually do. And at the beginning I was a bit uncomfortable. Not only did my weight on the scale changed, but I also saw my physique changing. I was holding a little bit more fat. I saw that some of my clothes was not fitting me anymore, and it was extremely hard for me, knowing that I've always thought I always wanted to look smaller, but that again is a body dysmorphia, put it like that. So I always struggle, let's say, with I was struggling with this, seeing that my jeans, my trousers were starting not to fit anymore, that my t-shirts at the gym was just like almost shrinking. And I was like, is that my washing machine or is that the gym? I don't know. But on the other side, I saw so much positive change. my sleep got so much better. I sleep like a baby now. There was something that I keep telling a lot of people, which I was really surprised. I always thought that I am naturally born having cold hands, cold feet, and cold nose. But increasing my calories, I've noticed that I don't have that anymore. I have a very warm body. Another change is PMSing. As you know, we females struggle with PMSing. And before, a week or almost 10 days prior my period, I would be like a monster. I would be very emotional. I would be very angry. I would suffer. I would have painful pains and all of that. But that has changed, whereby I still have those PMSing moments, but it's not as bad as before. So rather than having it for a week or 10 days, I may have it maybe 2-3 days prior my periods. Even the pain has changed. A lot is due also to the way that I eat, the nutrition, and a big thanks to Ross, because he's an absolute angel, and I don't think I would be able to do that without him. I'm not gonna lie, and I'm not gonna say that I feel comfortable in my skin. It's not the case. I still struggle sometimes when I see myself in the mirror. But I'm blessed to have people around me that supports me in this journey and that still boost me up and say, hey, you know, we can see the gains. And I am actually starting to enjoy the gains. I'm starting to be okay with the fact that obviously I am gaining weight. I can see it on the scale, I can see it on my clothes, but that is for a moment, and it will be worth it when it comes to the end goal. Because another thing is, I didn't want to rush into this process. I wanted something slow and steady because I want to keep this for the long run. So this is basically what's going on with the physique. It's still a process. We're still going through the journey of us obviously building muscles. I hope that Ross will be on the podcast very soon so we can have a chat with him as well. And also, along that side, I was supposed to do a High Rocks with Erica, but that didn't happen because the tickets got sold out. It is still in my diary to do it. And for a moment, I was putting a lot of pressure to myself that, I needed to do a High Rocks soon. But I believe that when the time is right, I will do it again. It's not something that I'm disregarding. It's just something that is still in the back of my mind, and I know in right time that will happen basically. So that's what's going on with the physique, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not in a comfortable physique point of view, but I've seen so much progress when it came to other things about inflammation, healing, and there was also this bit of trial and error, like even seeing how certain food would bloat me and some other food wouldn't, you know. It's being conscious about the type of food that I eat. It's being mindful as well when I'm going outside, but still enjoying having meals outside. It's been a very interesting journey so far, and I look forward to see how it's going to go in the long run. But yeah, that's about the physique. Now, another important part that I have to mention that happened to me this beginning of 2025 is a work shift, I would say. So I've been in a company for 4 years, which means all the years that I've been in Dubai. And this is the first time that I finally shifted and I moved to a new company. Now, I know that I can come across someone who's comfortable with change because obviously I grew up between 2 different countries, but I really struggled this time. Not because of the people. Turned out that I have lovely colleagues in my new company and I really enjoyed the time there. If you ask me this question the first week, I would say, oh my God, like what did I do? That was in my mind. I was very nervous. Imposter syndrome did kick in. Because my previous company where I was for 4 years was comfort, I knew the people, I knew the environment, I had a routine set. So breaking that routine and going to something completely different was not easy. And I'm not gonna lie, I still struggle with it because it's been not even a month now that I've been in this new company. So it's building new habits, new routine, and getting used to that. So I'm still in the, how do I say that? I'm still getting used to this environment. But I remember the first one thing I do want to talk about, because I still, this day will mark me forever. The first day that I came to this new company, I was super anxious. I had this knot in my stomach. I was, for someone like me who's always bubbly, like always talking, always like smiling, I saw another side of me that I haven't seen in ages. It brought me back to a childhood memory where when I started secondary school, and I went to school for a hot couple of months. I was having my lunch and my break at the reception or in the toilets because I was shy and I was so scared to speak to people because I just felt like I was not fitting in, particularly like that. And you know, when I entered the office, like obviously everyone's intrigued. Who's that new girl coming in? What is she going to do? Is she an agent? What's her role? And having to obviously convince people to trust me, understand that this is a job that I've been doing and I'm good at my job, has also been a bit of a journey, and still a journey, don't get me wrong. But all in all, what I noticed was that was me overthinking, that was me doubting myself. That was me trying to find excuse to go back to the past, to something, to the comforts, you know. But then I realized that comfort was also a bit toxic, you know. I'm not gonna spit on my previous company. That's not how I work. But it was becoming a toxic environment for myself. And now with this company, I want to grow. I want to build something new. It's seeing a complete different environment. It's meeting complete different people, and basically starting from all over again. To be fair, but it's not been easy. I remember even the second day, I literally drove back home. I was in tears. I cried on the phone, because I thought, you know what, this is not. Maybe I've done the wrong choice. I doubted my choice, and I was so close to be like, you know what, I'm just gonna return back to my previous company. And it was so funny because when I resigned at the point where I was not happy with how things was going for me personally in this company. And I was like, do you know what? I need a change. And I signed with no regrets. I was like, you know, it is what it is. And it's time for me to change. And as this whole month of notice period that I was working there, it felt like everything was just getting better and better. And I was like, is that like the universe trying to kind of play with my feeling? Like, what is going on? Even the last day was such a beautiful day that like everyone got gifts for me. It was nice to spend some time. It was during Ramadan, so we had like a small little iftar with few people there, and I literally cried. It was hard for me to say goodbye. During this whole month period, I was numb. Like, if you would ask me how do I feel, I was just like, I don't know, I'm just good, I guess. There was no excitement, there was no fear, I was just numb. But that Friday did hit me, and I was extremely sad, and that's where I think all the overwhelming started, because I didn't take any break. So I left on Friday, and the following Monday I was in a new company. So yeah, it was then afterwards time for me to take a step back and understanding that making a rushy decision, or rushing my decision, I would say, I'm not finding the right word here, but would have been a mistake. And I cannot judge a company in a day or 2 day or in a week timeline. Everyone around me told me, listen, give it time. Like, you cannot tell if you like a company or not, or the environment or not, unless you've really worked and put time into it. which reminded me that everything comes with consistency. So whatever you do, it is uncomfortable, but you have to be consistent with it before you decide whether this is good or not. So right now, I'm grateful for the colleagues that I have. I really enjoyed my time over there. Still getting, kicking, like I'm still starting to get all the process in order, trying to get people to obviously trust me and getting all the conveyancing process. But I think I can't really speak much about it just yet because it's only been 1 month. But I can only talk about how this first week made me feel. And it's funny because I didn't realize how this memory of my childhood has actually marked me until that very day. And I wanted to understand why was I feeling this way, because there was again that was talking about self-worth. It was again that imposter syndrome. It was again that fear of not fitting in, But then I just remembered my why, and I just remembered that obviously I can do it, And if it's not okay, then I'll make a decision in 3 months, 6 months, or maybe a year down the line of, is that really made for me or not? Because I've been questioning my whole career at the moment. Do I want to do conveyancing for the rest of my life? What do I want to do? I know that I do want to help people and do something where I feel like fulfilled with helping people in whatever journey that they are in. So for now, this is, I would say, my current career situation. Moved in a new company. I enjoy it very much. I love my colleagues. I'm very grateful, actually, one thing that I have to mention, I'm very grateful that I knew someone in that company. He's a friend of mine, and having him to be like, okay, he got you, and he did make sure that everything was going smoothly for me. So a big shout out to him, and very grateful for that. Also very grateful for the people who tried to learn a little bit to come approach me, because for a long period of time I was always in my previous company, I was always the one who would approach all the newbies and like, hey, how are you, welcome. And being on the other side, on the other seat, was very uncomfortable until obviously everyone started to come and have a chat. So yeah, we're getting used to the new environment, we're getting used to all of that, and I'm just taking it, I think, day by day, and not trying to pressure myself too much about, of being perfect, because is there anything as such like perfections? And yeah, I think that is currently it for my career. Now let's move into relationship and social life. So relationship is, I'll keep it short. I'm still single. That's not something new. Nothing has changed yet. But friendship wise, I am beyond grateful. Last weekend I had a beautiful weekend where I went hiking, and then I went to spend the day at the beach with friends, and had a moment where I was thinking, and I was like, I'm extremely grateful for the people that are in my life. They make this journey here in Dubai so much different. And again, it's coming back to this thought that I always had. It's not about the quantity of friends, but it's about the quality of friends. Is having this group of friends where you can be yourself, where you don't have to hide who you are, you don't have to pretend to be someone else, where you can be your crazy self, and knowing that they will still love you, knowing that even in your lowest time they will still be here for you, and cherishing these moments. Like I'm not gonna lie, I have been doing a lot of things since the beginning of January, where I've been making most of winter, going for hikes, doing a lot of outdoor activities and so on. But it's just my way of obviously cherishing this moment, It's this way of being present, having a conversation, making memories with people. So it's been beautiful, and I'm very grateful to any of my close friends, people that are around me. I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for making each day better and better. Thank you for your support, because I think without that, I wouldn't be able to keep going. And maybe I would have gone back home a long time ago, because it's hard to be in Dubai far from your family, far from your support system. So these people are my support system, and I'm very grateful for that. Another big chunk, I would say, would be mental health, because my mental health went up and down throughout this year. I have been overwhelmed. I have felt burnt out. I have felt like I doubted myself. I have felt very low. But again, having the right support system was helpful. But also doing the work, all the work that I've done in 2024 are being put in practice here now. I can now, for example, I'm not going to say, hey, you know what, I'm always positive and what's so on. But when I'm feeling down, I know that, okay, this is a moment where I'm feeling down. What do I need to do to switch that script? What do I need to do to be able to obviously change that? What do I need to do so that I can feel good again, And that could be silly as maybe I just want to stay at home and recharge myself, because I like being social, but to be able to pour into others' cup, I need to pour into my cup. And this is something that I want to do even more, because I need to recenter myself. I need to do the work on myself as well. So I don't think my mental health have been at its best, but I would say that it's been dealt in such an easy way. There were times where I would break down very easily, but again, I would pick myself up, and I would have the right people around me to pick me up and be like, hey, you got this, keep going, you got this, remember your why. And that's what kept me going. It's very easy. Being an overthinker, it's very easy for me to fall back into these bad patterns. But then now what I like is whenever I'm seeing that I'm falling back into these old patterns, I stop it right away. Or I find a way to stop it and not keep going and fueling this. So it's funny, because if you were in my brain, whenever these would happen, it would look like me talking to myself. So you would see the overthinker, and then you would see me basically being let's say the irrational and the rational talking to each other, and the rational, which would be the person who's done the work, telling the irrational, do you know what, I got this, I'm not gonna let that happen. So that's how basically it's going. It's a bit of a back and forth, and it's funny because I've been picturing that. I've also been asking myself a lot of things. I've been analyzing myself per se, I would say, whereby I would see, for example, I've realized that sometimes I can be loud, and I asked myself, why do I have to be loud? Then I realized that was because when I was younger, I never felt heard. So me being loud in a room would be kind of a way to say, hey, I'm here. But that's not conscious, that's really subconscious. That was one thing that I noticed. Another thing that I noticed that I was really surprised, to be honest, is trying to always make jokes. Obviously, I love making my jokes. Sometimes I don't take myself seriously, mainly around the people that I'm comfortable with. But again, it was, am I trying to show this face because I'm trying to hide away the fact that I'm actually upset, or I'm not well, or I'm not dealing well with something? So all of this are currently like in my mind, and I'm like, wow, okay, how do we go about this? So I think my mental health is something that I'm still working on. I'm trying to get better at my breath work, because this is something I do want to master in the future. So I'm trying to work into it. But But yeah, it's a work in progress, I would say. And I guess that would be the main thing of how the beginning of the year till now has been. And I just thought of sharing this because I thought maybe I'm not the only one going through this. Maybe anyone who's listening to this podcast right now can be like, oh, me too, I've changed job. Me too, I've not felt comfortable. Me too, I'm going through a fitness journey that can be uncomfortable, you know? Me too, I'm struggling a little bit with mental health. Because that's the reality of things, you know? And I don't want to portray that. I've always said to people, whatever you see on social media and all of this, sometimes be very careful of what you see, because obviously sometimes I won't be sharing how I feel like deep down. Like I remember last time I did a live, I cried in a live because I was really at the lowest point at that time. So I'm not gonna say I'm depressed. I'm not depressed. I'm not bad. I'm a work in progress. I am working on getting better and better. I am working on making my dreams come true. It is a bit rocky. The journey is rocky, but that's life, I guess. I am overwhelmed. I'm not gonna lie, but I'm trying to work into how do I shift that from being overwhelmed to not having that feeling, which means making more time for myself. But yeah, so these are the little things that I'm currently working on. So I would say, yeah, I'm a work in progress. And that's the reality. It's not always rainbows and butterflies. We also struggle. There's sometimes rains and storms, but that, like anything, you know, I know that the sun will come back and shine. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to make you think that I am at the lowest right now. It's not. But what I'm trying to say is that it's normal to not always be high on life, and it's fine. It's absolutely okay. Taking it easy, being kind to ourselves is very, very important. And that is something that I keep reminding myself and keep reminding myself my why. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this podcast? Why am I doing this job? Why am I here in Dubai? And it's putting myself first as well. So I guess to sum up quickly would be the lessons I've learned so far is the first one would be that change is uncomfortable in all ways, career, physical, but it's important, you know, if you want to grow. I think that change is one of the most important thing to do, and you know, taking that leap of faith and that risk is very important, because I would rather take the risk, potentially fail, than not taking any risk and then regretting that I have not taken or seized an opportunity in the future, like seized an opportunity when it came forward. Another important thing is being kind to ourselves, you know, because it's very easy to be so hard on ourselves and be like, no, it's not perfect. I could have done better. I should do this. I should do that. But just changing that script and saying, hey, you know what? Well done. Celebrating those small wins, you know, celebrating those daily wins, even like small wins. Like, for example, I'll tell you 3 wins of today. The first one would be that I woke up and I went to the gym because I really didn't want to go and train this morning. The second win was helping an agent with her transfer. That went very smoothly. And alongside, I got to eventually make contact with new people. And thirdly would be to record this episode, because I did struggle. Like, I'm wrecked from work, but I still decided to come and show up and record this episode to make sure it is live for Wednesday. So these are my 3 wins. So what are your 3 wins? What are your daily 3 wins, you know? Just think about that. Another point is trusting the process. This is something that I've been telling myself from the beginning of the year. Trust the process, because when things are not coming the way that I expected in my brain, I just keep reminding myself to trust the process. I may not see the result now, but I will see the result in the future. Hence why, guys, trust the process. Another very important thing that I want to say is putting yourself first, and allowing yourself to be with yourself, resting, pouring in your own cup, because I did neglect that. I'm not gonna lie, I did neglect that. I love being present for all the people around me, and I did neglect spending time for myself. So going on in the future, I do want to take at least a day where it's just for myself, or if it's not a day, an afternoon where I'm just going to be with myself and do the things that I enjoy. If that means being on the couch and sleep, it will mean being on the couch and sleep. If that means going to the beach and lay there and do absolutely nothing, that will be it. It's recharging myself to be able to come full power for all the people around me and for everything that I do. So this is a bit of a reflection episode of how I felt so far and how I feel so far and how I'm going about the year. What to expect, I don't know. Let's see. That could be an episode for another 3-4 months down the line. But that is a bit of a life update and how things are going. So, I'm not gonna keep blabbing. It's time for me to end the episode. So, once again, please guys, if you have any suggestion, feel free to comment in the description box below. Don't forget, please, it means a lot to the channel if you like, comment, subscribe, and share the episode with as many people as you think would be happy to listen or needs to listen to the episodes. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this solo episode, and on that note, I'm gonna love you and leave you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.